And welcome to part 2 of our Intro SolidWorks video. So we're going to make another part. This time though we're going to use more constraints on it and dimensions like engineering would actually occur. So first though, I'd like to repeat some of the steps I did before. I'm going to pin out these menus and we're going to make a new part. So new part, OK. And once again, this is the View toolbar. Remember, the tutorials are behind the little house. Check your units before you start any part. You always want to check what units you're working on. And so I'm working on the inch system, inch pound second. This is again the Feature Manager design tree. We have the Features toolbar and the Sketch toolbar, and those are the primary ones we'll be working with. Okay, so we'll start with an extrusion. And any plane that you want to for this, I'll choose the top plane. We'll start with another rectangle. This is a corner-to-corner rectangle. And now, remember how we said that we can make these dimensions to be something more exact, but we're not going to do it by trying to hold the mouse right on, for example, 2 inches and right on, for example, 3 inches. We're going to type those in another way. So just pull the rectangle to the shape you want, reasonably. Okay, and then we're going to use a new button called Smart Dimension. So that's right here, and click on that. Now notice when I pull the mouse into the window, it has a different appearance. It has a little arrow next to the mouse pointer, and that means that it's in Smart Dimension mode and ready to create dimensions. Now you notice when I hover the pointer over the top line there, it turns orange. That means it's selected. So I click there, and then I just pull the mouse away, and I click again to set that dimension out there. Now immediately it pops into a dialog box where it's saying, what do you really want that to be? So let's say I wanted it to be 3, so I just type 3, and you can either hit the green check here, or you can simply hit the Enter key on your keyboard. Now we're still in Smart Dimension mode. See how the pointer has the arrows next to it? So it's ready to do another dimension. Well, how about we do this one? And let's say we wanted that to be 2. So just type in 2, and then I hit Enter. And now it has dimensioned those exactly to be 2 and 3. And that's the correct or normal way to set dimensions of line segments in the Sketcher. Okay, we're done with the dimensioning operation. To get out of it, we can either click the green check here, or you can also hit the Escape key. I just hit the Escape there to bring me out of it. Either one of those is fine. Now we're still in the Sketcher mode. We could either continue with this, continue adding details to this sketch, or we could exit the sketch at this point. Let's see what happens if we add another detail to it. So now we're going to place a circle in the middle of the part. And that circle, which we're doing with this tool, will define a hole surrounded by solid material. Now you see that I could just click here and dimension, but there's a slick way to locate the circle in the middle using what are called inference lines. So if I hover my mouse pointer over this line, it also finds the midpoint of that line. And now if I just move the mouse pointer down directly from there, you see the dotted line. That's an inference line that is always not always, it's currently mapped to the center of that line. Now suppose I wanted the circle to be not only centered left and right, which that line would do, but also centered up and down. Well, simply move your mouse pointer over this line. It finds its center or midpoint. Then I'm going to move the mouse pointer to the right from there, and there's another inference line. Now the process of me touching that line and this line and drawing these lines away is remembered. So if I pull this all the way to the middle, it will remember that inference line. And if I click here, with those two lines showing, the hole will start right in the middle of the part. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to pull away and click again to set the diameter. Now, just like before, we don't try to hit an exact number with here. We're going to use Smart Dimension for that. So I click there to set the hole. So let me hit Smart Dimension, and we're going to define this diameter. So I click the circle, and then the proper way to dimension a circle is typically not like this, and it's also not like that. The circles are dimensioned typically like this. That would be the correct way. And the number is should be not inside the part but outside the part. So I'll click here. It could be up here or over there, but this is a pretty clean place to put it, so I'll put it there. And let's say we wanted that to be 1 inch diameter, so I'll just type in 1 and then Enter key on the keyboard, and now we have a 1 inch circle. Now we're still in Smart Dimension mode. I can get out of that either with the Escape key or the check mark. I'll hit the Escape key. Now you notice these lines are black. They're fully defined. This line is blue. It is not yet completely defined. It's defined for its diameter, but there's still some lack of constraint for its location. The way that I placed this was nice and simple, and it's a very handy way to design, but I'll show you later that it does have a little limitation. Okay, so I think we're ready to exit this sketch, so let's do that. Now remember, we were in an extrusion operation, so it kicked us back up to the boss extrusion. And sure enough, we got an extrusion with something that has a hole in the middle of it. The dimensions are continuing there. We can set the height of the extrusion here. I'll make that 1 inch, 1, and then Enter. And I can show you a different way to do extrusion as well. This extrusion is pulling it off of one plane in one direction. So that's a blind extrusion right here. Another common type of extrusion, as I click the down arrow, would be a mid-plane extrusion. So if we click that, let's see what the difference is. Aha, so it's the same height, 1 inch, but it's a ½ inch in either direction from the original sketch plane. So just another example of a type of extrusion that you could do. I'll leave that one as is, and we'll click the green check to get out of this extrusion. And there is our part with the sketch still in light blue. And of course, the sketch is shown right there. And if I want to deselect the sketch, simply click anywhere in the blank graphic space. Okay, so you can see that you can do multiple operations in one extrusion. We could have kept going with more complexity if we wanted to. Now suppose that your design requirements changed and you need to change the shape of this model. So if you needed to change the extrusion height, that is the dimension from there to there, that would be done in the feature itself. Remember, that was done in the boss extrusion part. And to do that, we would right-click on boss extrusion, and now a number of menus come up. The main one that you use is the upper left one that says Edit Feature. So click Edit Feature. Now you can see that brings us right back to this same boss extrusion menu that we were at before. So we can simply change this 1 inch to whatever we need. Let's say it's 3/4 inch, 0.75. So Enter, and now it's changed it accordingly. If we wanted to edit the sketch, then the typical way to do that would be to click the plus button to see the sketch, then right-click on that sketch 1 and edit that sketch with the upper left button. Click there, and now we're back to the sketch window. So let's say we wanted this to be 2.5. And we hit the dimension. Now you see this is a good example why that center circle is in blue. So although we defined it off of the midpoint of this line, that definition was not one that is remembered when something is updated. So there's a new midpoint to the line here, but it did not move that circle. Now there are ways to force that circle to always stay in the middle. So let's show you one of those. The cleanest way is probably to set up some center lines. So the center line feature is found under the line tool here, but we'll need to click the little down arrow to select center line. So a center line is a different kind of line. It's used to establish where things go, but it will not be used in the extrusion itself. So it's a different function than the lines formed by other features. So click on center line, and you can see there's a little yellow message here, and we're ready to draw the center line. So if I hover the mouse over this line, it found the midpoint there. So let me click there, and since it's orange, it will magnetize right to it, even though I'm not necessarily right on it, as long as it's orange. Then I drag over to this side, and that's orange, so I click there as well. And that center line will always be on the center of those two faces. Okay, I'm going to hit escape because it's somehow gone into an arc command. Okay, and now let's draw another center line down the other way. And there we are here. And I'm going to click there. And again, that center line will always be in the middle. So I'm going to hit escape to get out of this. And just to show you that that's true, if I change this dimension now, I'm going to click, you can just double click on the dimension. I'm going to change that to 4. And you can see those center lines are tracking the center no matter what. Now what I wanted was for this hole to always stay in the middle of the part, even when we change the dimensions. So there's a way to do that. Okay, the cleanest way is to first select the two lines that you want it to be centered about. So I'm going to click that one. Now if you want to select more than one line at once, we're going to hold the Shift key down while we click the other line. For example, if I just click this one, it's going to select that and deselect the first one. Also notice that when you click this line, we've now got a new menu here. It's called Line Properties. And the important things here, the first important thing is, what are the lines that it has selected? So that line is called Vertical 5. If I hold the Shift key down while I click this line, you'll see another line appear. Now it's called, it changed the name Vertical 5 to Line 5, and it is also selecting line 7, which is this cross line. Now what we want is for both of those lines to be coincident with the center of the circle. Well, there's the point on the center of the circle, so let me select it as well. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down. It's orange, that means it will click and select the center. And see how we have now populated this list with another entity called 0.7. So everything in light blue indicates that it has been selected. And now we can add what's called a relation. And the relation that it's giving us the option of is the intersection. And that simply means that this point will intersect both of those lines. So now when I click this, it will force this blue circle to move up to the center. Now you might wonder, why doesn't it force it to move these center lines down to it? Well, that's because the center lines are forced to be centered on the midpoint by other relations. So those little green guys there, that's a relation that was established when we made that center line. And this will be another relation when I click on it, so I'm going to do that now. And sure enough, it did two things. It moved the blue line to the center, and it made it black. The reason it's black is because it is now fully defined, and no matter what you do with these dimensions, it will know where to put it. You also know everything's fully defined because this little wording right here, when you've got everything black in the sketch, it will say fully defined. So now it has not yet updated the extrusion. You see the extrusion hole is still in the wrong place. And that's because we haven't bumped ourselves back up to that level yet. So let's bump ourselves back up and to ensure that the extrusion is what we want. So I'm going to click check out of this property window. I'm going to exit the sketch, and it should now update the extrusion, and it does. Okay. So I can now change any dimension I want on this, and that hole will always stay in the center. So I'll just do that quickly so you can see it. Edit plane. We'll make this 6. We'll make this 2. And check and exit, and it's still in the center, and it will always be so. So this kind of modeling, where we set these kind of constraints, this is an example of what's called parametric modeling, where you're not just putting lines down on paper, you're actually putting intelligence into the model so it knows how to create it even with changes. And this is very powerful for three-dimensional CAD work. Okay, let's take another look at some of the features of SolidWorks. In particular, some mistakes that you can commonly make and how to fix them. So suppose that you did a feature and you didn't like it and you want to get rid of it. So let me add one very quickly here. Extruded base, select a plane. I'll select it here. I'll put a little square on right here. Rectangle, exit sketch. There's an extrusion. I'm just putting this on quickly so that you can see what to deal with it. And let's say you didn't want that. Well, there's two ways to deal with that. One is simply to hit the undo. So hit Control Z on your keyboard, and it just eliminated the extrusion operation. Now it did keep the sketch, and that's the default. It thinks that maybe you wanted to keep that sketch for another reason. Maybe it had a lot of work that went into it and you didn't want to throw it away. So if you want to also delete the sketch, let's see, let me exit sketch. Then I would right click on the sketch and then delete to get rid of that. And sometimes this list here will be populated, and there can be important things here if there were things that were dependent upon what you just created. But in this case there's nothing dependent, so we just say delete it and it's gone. So combinations of Control Z, right click delete can be very helpful to correct errors. So let's do just one more feature so we get a little more practice with placing entity features that are defined carefully. So let me try an extruded cut, and I'll put it on the same face right here. And you can see we're now ready we're in the process of drawing a sketch. And suppose I wanted to put a hole that is centered on the line, and suppose I wanted it to be done off of a center line. Well, I can create the center line first. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Let's create that center line here. So I hover about that line and it found the middle of it. Then I drag myself over to any point, really. You could stop there, but I often go to the other end just to make it extra clear. Now it's ready to draw another center line. We don't need that. So just hit the escape key to get out of this function. Okay, and that center line is there. Now you might be wondering, well, why couldn't I use the center line I made before? And the answer to that is that's the prior center line that you made. It exists in Sketch 1. There are ways to move that center line or to copy it up, and that certainly can be done, but it's technically not yet a part of Sketch 3. So that's simply the reason for that. So there's the center line, and say I want a circle that's centered on there, but a set distance away from that line. Okay, so let's try to do that. We'll put a circle in. This will be a hole. Now you see, if I start the circle, its center, on the center line, then we've already got that, and we don't have to add a relation later. So I'm going to click here, and I know that it's going to be on the line because it turned orange, and because the little green dot that appeared to the right of the pencil by the eraser, that indicates it's right on the line. So I'm going to click there, and now I'm going to expand the circle, and I'm going to dimension this circle to a certain amount. You can hit the green check, or you can go straight to Smart Dimension. Okay, now I'm going to click on the circle, and we're going to pull away like this so that we have a hole, or have the dimension where it should be. Let's say we want that to be a 1/2 inch diameter. So 0.5, and then I'm hitting the Enter key. That's our dimension. Now we want to locate this circle a certain distance away from here. Now we're still in the Smart Dimension mode, so we can go ahead and do that. So if I want the hole to be that distance away from that feature, so first I'm going to click the feature to define one of the things I'm dimensioning, and then I'm going to click the center of the circle to define the other thing. And now it knows that what I'm intending is to make a dimension between that line and the center. And typically dimensions are placed off of the part, not inside the part. So I'm going to put it there, and let's say I want it to be 1 inch away from the edge. Okay, so we've got that. We're done with dimensioning. You see it's black. That means it's fully defined. It's defined in its diameter, it's defined its location, X and Y, and of course its height is defined because it's on the plane. So we're going to hit the green check. We're going to exit this sketch. Now we're back to the cut extrude process, and we can either do a blind extrusion, a certain depth, or we can go all the way through. Right now the thickness of my part is 1 inch. So you can see it's actually extruding the hole beyond the part. Now it won't do anything down here because there's no material to cut a hole through. So this isn't wrong. Maybe it's not the cleanest modeling because the hole is a little sloppy on the end, but it will produce the part correctly. If you wanted it to be the cleanest part, I would probably say through all, then it will definitely just end right at the end. And then if you change the thickness of the part, it will always go through the whole part. If you wanted to be a certain depth, you could say blind, and not all the way through. We could say, well, it's only going to be a 1/2 inch deep. So there it goes in, and it stops halfway through. I believe we made this 3/4 thick, didn't we? Okay, so there it's going 2/3 through the part. I'll say check to the extrusion operation. And now I have that hole that goes partially through the part. The light blue line shown here is simply because I'm still highlighted there. If I click in the blank space, that will go away, and now I have my part.